Alright, this video is on how to find or calculate the slope, whether you're given a line with points, a line without points, 2 points that are actually given, or finally, if you are given an equation. Okay, so we are finding the slope of a line. Real quick, let's review. When we have y equals mx plus b, which is called the slope-intercept form of the graph, we already know that m stands for the slope, and b is the intercept, but it is specifically the y-intercept. Let me make that focus stop doing that. Okay. Alright, so this is the y-intercept. And we know that slope is defined several different ways. Slope is the change in y divided by the change in x. And the way that is typically written as with that delta triangle, which stands for the word change. This is the Greek letter for delta. So we can symbolize the change in y as this change in y over the change in x. Okay, the slope is also defined as the rise over the run. Okay, the rise is the y part. So whether it goes up or down, the y part, right? The y part, up or down. And then the run is the x part. And why my writing got a little bit sideways, I don't know. So the run part is whether it is left or right. Okay, the slope is also known as the rate of change. Okay, this is a rate, how quickly it moves up and down and how quickly it moves left and right, the rate of change. And we will come back to this definition, but right now we are going to focus on this, the fact that it is the change in y divided by the change in x. Alright, so on our first one right here, and let me pop up the little thing that helps me keep an eye on the time. You know, in other versions of this program I used to be able to make this smaller. No. Alright, we'll just leave it like that size. Okay, so what we need to do right now is we need to figure out the change in y over or divided by the change in x. So we want to know the up and down part versus the left and right part. Some of you will look at this and you will wonder, which point do I use first? And the truth is, it does not matter. If I consider this the first point and this the second point, to move from here to here, the first thing I would do is I'd have to go down by 2, right? 1, 2 to get to be in the same grid as this point right here. So I went down by 2, and that takes me 1, 2, that takes me right here, and then I need to move over here still. So that takes me 1, 2, 3. So then I went right by 3. The slope would be down 2 and right 3. When I go down, it is a negative number. So negative 2, when I go right, it is a positive number. So right 3. So I can go down 2 and right 3. I'd have the slope is negative 2/3. But what if you use this as point number 1? If you use this as point number 1 and this is point number 2. Okay, well, if I wanted to move from here to here, the first thing I do is the up and down part. So I would have to go up 1, 2. I'd go up by 2. Okay, so that would be the change in y. So here, where can I write this other version? Here, the slope, which is the change in y over the change in x, I have to go up by 2. 1, 2. That takes me to this grid mark, and then now I need to move from here over to here, and I would move 1, 2, 3. I would be moving left by 3. Left by 3. Well, when I move up, it's positive, and when I move left, it's negative. So this would be a positive 2 over a negative 3. However, I always like to have my negative signs in the numerator. So instead of saying 2 divided by negative 3, which is completely fine, that does represent the kind of slope it is. It's a negative slope downhill. This is a negative number. So, I mean, technically this would be fine, but I like to have my negatives in the numerator. So I would simply rewrite that in the numerator, and I would get the slope is negative 2/3. Oh, before I got the slope was negative 2/3. So it does not matter which point you decide is your first point and which one you decide is your second point. Okay, moving on to number 2. So we need to figure out the slope, which is the change in y divided by the change in x. Okay, so if I move from here to here, the first thing I'm going to do is my up and down part, right? So down 1, down 2. I went down by 2. And then, how do I move left or right? Well, I don't, right? I went down 2. That took me to exactly where I need to be. I don't move left or right at all, so my change in x is 0. Are we allowed to divide by 0? No, never, nunca, not going to happen, not today, When you do divide by 0, that is called undefined. So this slope is undefined. Is there a slope? Imagine if you're skiing, right? So you're on this hill, right? And you're skiing. Yay, having fun! In Colorado, skiing! Happy face! I guess you guys do have mountains here in Michigan. I mean, like, I wouldn't call them mountains because I lived in Colorado for 9 years. But okay, you can call them mountains if you want. So you're skiing along, woot doot 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 doot. You get to the edge of the cliff, crash. Right? There's no slope here, no slope at all. It is undefined. All right, number 3. Now notice on number 3 and number 4 there are no points. So what you need to do is you need to really analyze the line and look for where you see the line crossing grid marks exactly. So I mean like in this spot or this spot or this spot, right, where the line could cross the grid lines precisely. And so where I see that here, and I see that down here. So if there are not 2 points given, then you just make up the 2 points. And then I'm going to figure out how I can move from here to here. So I would go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my slope, which is the change in y over the change in x, I went down 7. And then to go from here to here, I would go right by 2. So I went down 7 and right by 2. When you go down, that is going to be a negative number. And when you go right, that is a positive number. And then finally, number 4, I don't see any points, but I can add some points. Oh, hey. We're going to have a slight delay here in the video. Let me close this out and I'll be right back. Okay, and let me pop this so. Oh, there we go. All right. And welcome back. Computer turned off. Computer's back on. Okay, we were working on number 7. Number 4. Okay, and if there are not points, what we're going to do is add points. So I'm going to put a point here, and I can put it, I can add the points anywhere as long as they are crossing the grid lines in an exact spot. Okay, so if I do this one, I know that slope is the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so to move from here to here, I do the change in y, which is the up and down part first. Oh, I don't move up or down. I'm just going to have to move over. So moving up and down doesn't need to happen, therefore my change in y is 0. And then my change in x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 0 divided by 5 is 0. What if you would have chosen this point instead of this? Okay, what if you would have chosen this over here? Well, still, I would move up 0, or you could say I would move down 0, right? I just don't move up or down. And then I would move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then I'd have 0 divided by 7. 0 divided by any number is 0. So in this case, the slope is 0. Now, we looked at number 2, right? We're skiing, crash, right? Because the slope is undefined. Here, if we were skiing, if we came in skiing on this, we do. I don't know that this person is smiling. This person is just like, I'm just skiing along, and then I'm skiing, and this is not much fun either. I'm just skiing. I'm not dying because I'm not falling. I'm not crashing. But the slope is 0. This would be quite a boring, in my opinion at least, skiing trip if this is what you're skiing on. All right, number 5. Number 5 is like what you saw a lot of in the Nearpod. Okay, so this is where it involves that little formula. So we've got the slope, which is the change in y over the change in x, is now going to be represented by that formula, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. The biggest problem with this is that students call this x, x, and then they call this y, y. But that is not how a point or an ordered pair works. An ordered pair is always x comma y. So this is x and this is y, and this is x and this is y. And one of them has to have subscripts of 1, the first point, and one of them has to have subscripts of 2, the second point. So if I have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1, I've got negative 19 minus, that is part of the formula. This people forget. And then I have y sub 1, which is 6. So I am subtracting, I am finding the difference. I am finding out how the numbers change. The change in y. Negative 19 minus 6 divided by x sub 2 was 7 minus x sub 1 is also 7. Okay, this is going to be the change in x. So negative 19 minus 6 is going to be negative 25. 7 minus 7 is going to be 0. I cannot divide by 0. That is undefined. Cannot divide by 0, undefined.